All right, welcome back to the program. My guest is joining me right now, Ekerete Ola Gam-Ikon. He's a consultant on insurance. While I was smiling, while you caught me smiling there, I wanted to ask you, what is the meaning of your name? Because that name fascinates me all the time, you know. Sometimes I get it wrong. Ekerete Ola Gam-Ikon. What's the meaning?
What's the meaning?
Yes, what's the meaning of the name?
God's thought.
God's thought.
Yes, that's the meaning of Ekerete.
Okay.
And of course, you know what Ola means.
Wealth. Ola
is Yoruba.
Yes,
wealth.
it has.
Wealth.
Ola is wealth, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
They're all Nigerian names, right?
I just needed to find out. You know, we have very beautiful names in the country,
yeah.
so
yeah.
and they mean a lot of things. You know, sometimes you would have been born, your name will be what happens around where you were born or something. So we have quite interesting history and names. So I just needed to ask that.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. He's a consultant on insurance, so we're looking at the insurance sector. While on the break, you were telling me, you said, yeah, been insurance, yeah, been us. I'm not yabbing you people, but I try as much as possible to bring the sector to fore.
Good.
The GDP numbers we saw that was released by the NBS, I looked at all the sectors. In fact, my shows last week were about the GDP numbers, and we tried to break it down for the sectors.
Okay.
But we're looking at that also today for the insurance sector. And when I looked at those numbers, the sector contracted about 28.5%. It's a worsening situation for the
What does
insurance
that mean
sector.
for the common man? Like we say.
Yes.
What does that mean?
For someone
when you
watching
say that,
now.
what do you mean? I mean, how will anyone understand what you have said? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it terrible? You know, but the real issue should then be how many people have insurance and how many people need to have insurance. So you've got a huge population of Nigerians that don't have insurance.
So a huge population of even people watching me right now, my viewers, our fans, many of them do not have insurance.
Yeah, because they have another type of insurance, which is if something happened to me, my car had an accident, I will call, oh, Auntie Nancy, I just had an accident. And you will give me 100,000 to add to. So you are the insurance. That's how it works. So if we had a situation where Nigerians were more accountable for what they do with their money, we probably will have more people doing insurance. Because Auntie Nancy will not be able to give you that money. She will have to explain why she's giving you money. So sometimes we need to step back to look at the environment in answering that question, why don't people do insurance? And yes, there's the big issue of, you call it awareness, I call it ignorance. Because sometimes people get the policy document for insurance and they don't look at it until something goes wrong. And then they need to look at it and then they discover that, oh, this is not what I thought it was. So that's ignorance. It's not like you are not aware because you bought it, but you haven't looked at it, so you ignored it. You know, so
is it that you ignored it, or perhaps you don't understand the technicalities?
Yeah,
because insurance also, the industry is based on a lot of, you know, technicalities somehow that people don't understand. So people can't buy what they don't understand. But if you go to like a bank, normally you just credit, debit, I put my money or I take it back. Simple. Okay, so any other ancillary things goes around, whether I'm being credited or I'm being debited.
Okay, great. So if I may use the example you've just given to explain insurance, you know, it's not technical. And I'm one of those people that have said, leave technical insurance for insurance people. You know, what do you want to do? You've got a risk in front of you. Fire may come, you don't know when. You know, I mean, pandemic came, we didn't know it was coming. It caught a lot of people panting. And some people, yes, were shaken, but, you know, they staggered back and got on. Why? Because they had insurance. So, when you say it's technical, it's written in English. If you don't understand it, like every other thing, you will seek for assistance. And that's why the professional brokers are there. That's why the agents are there. However, I do know that truly people get bored with insurance language and all of that. Yeah. But what are you looking at? If you're looking at, you know, protecting your wealth, which is what insurance does, if you're looking at creating wealth for your child, for the young one, which is what insurance does, then you will take a few minutes to address it. And so like the bank, by the way, banking is not as easy as you've said. You know, a lot of people still don't understand it. And that's why people shout and say, oh, bank has taken my money. All right. So when you get into the insurance discussion, you simply want to say, there may be an accident. So I don't want to be in a bad position when there's an accident. So what do? Somebody is going to take it into what we call a pool. And so that pool has got several other people who have subscribed to it. Can you imagine having a car worth 5 million and probably paying only 500,000 naira to secure the car? Well, the rates have been bastardized. And so some people, you know, can say, come and pay 250,000, come and pay 150,000 for a car of 5 million. So how many 5 million? And that car maybe is accidented, or maybe that car is stolen. So where do we go from there? So it's not a language that you will just understand by hearing it and moving on. It's something that you've got to hear and ask, what do you say? And then the guy will explain to you. And so once you understand it, you know, but I know that what makes people understand insurance best is when it happens and you get compensated.
Yeah.
That's the only thing people understand. And that's where we seek to have lots of insurance companies in Nigeria. Unfortunately, it's not happening that way, you know, and that might be why the penetration is low, and that is also why people don't talk about it in positive terms. However, businesses will not say the same thing, because for the numbers you have seen insurance, you know, produce, I mean, last year, insurance recorded about 490 billion in terms of, you know, written premium. And the year before that, it was about 448 or so, you know, and that's what it took. But do you know how much it paid in claims? In 2018, over 300 billion. Who do you think those monies went to? Businesses. Because most of, about 70% of insurance businesses that is actually done are done by businesses. The retail end is maybe 12, 13%, and then you've got governments doing only 15%, you know, for the ones that they've paid for. So you find out that while we're at it, you know, insurance is still the only way that has been tested to stabilize economies when things go wrong. And that's why we've enjoyed some benefit from insurance during this period. In the last 6 months, insurance companies have been paying claims to business and individuals. Yes, like I said, there are people that have been owed claims, sometimes 4 years claims. It's embarrassing. It's unacceptable, you know. And so these are the things that we need to deal with.
Okay. Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to Moneyline with Nancy TV YouTube channel. This is where we provide you with instructive business directions, processes, and guidance to help you assess the right resources to fund your businesses to withstand every form of internal and external shock. You will find here awesome informative videos on business, entrepreneurship, and lifestyle just to help you make informed business and financial decisions. Punch the subscribe button and let us drive you through the world of business. Please follow all our social media platforms on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and follow us for latest updates on our website. When you saw those numbers that were released by the NBS, what came to your mind?
What came to my mind is what has always been on my mind.
Okay. So
how do we shift this? How do we move this pin from, I mean, less than 1%, you know? Sometimes when we say less than 1%, you would think it's 8%. No, it's 0.3%.
8%, yes.
You know, on last year's figures, what I did, found out that it was 0.2%. So it's the economy, whether the economy is getting bigger or not, and then insurance seems to be, you know, just disappearing. And I can tell you, we've got a lot of work to do in the sector, because the sector itself is one sector where prices seem to be going down in insurance. Yeah, because you want to do insurance of your car now, and then someone says, I can give it to you at 2% of the value of the car. And another person says, oh, I can do it at 1.5%.
Why is it so?
It's a price war. Everyone wants to get it.
Yeah.
You know, but I always say to people, at any point you hear anyone give you a lower rate, be sure that that person is not going to be in a position to pay your claims. That's the easiest way to know who will not pay your claims.
So are you saying that the higher the price, the larger the propensity of paying?
Precisely.
It's a market.
No, it is a market, but I'm telling you, just like you said, insurance is compounded. Insurance, people don't understand it. I'm keeping it simple now for you to understand. If you get to an insurance company and you heard one insurance company say, we're doing it at 5% or 3% or 4%, and you hear another one say, we're doing it at 2%, 1.5%, run. That's what I'm saying. Because chances are, you've got two insurance companies. One is looking for liquidity. One is looking for profitability. And so, you understand why the other one is looking for the money. Bring it. And why the other one is able to tell you, this is our price. If you don't want to pay, sorry, we can't go lower than that. So you begin to get some sense of value and quality on one side, and anything goes on this other side.
But the argument for liquidity, doesn't it also make sense against the argument of profitability? Because the more liquid you are, perhaps the more profit you can also make in terms of volume or turnover. Then in terms of, then at the end of the day, yes, you can also make profit, and the more people you can get on board. I'm thinking like a market woman.
You are right. Unfortunately, the guy who is looking for liquidity just has to get that money, deal with an issue. This guy is the one that does most of the corporate businesses, by the way, because he's been tested, he's been paying claims, but this other guy hasn't been paying claims. So sometimes it's like penny wise, pound foolish. You're just looking for the money immediately. You know, you get it, you deal with your issue, but it's not sustainable. This other guy stands his ground because he is coming with his track record of having paid claims over time. So he knows that if he gets it done, I mean, at the end of the day, the basket will be profitable. Whereas you're just doing things that is not even making you attractive, for your information. Because we always go back to ask the question, when was the last time they paid a claim? And you find out that yes, they may have paid last week, but before that last week, when was the last time they paid? So customers have got to understand that, you know, and this is for businesses and this is for individuals also.
With this new normal, what lessons are there for the insurance sector to learn? In fact, when I was going through it, I was like, Corona insurance lessons by Nancy.
No, but you're right.
What are the coronavirus insurance lessons?
Some companies have been thoroughly dealt with. Some companies have seized the opportunity, you know, to step forward, you know, and show that they are willing to seize the opportunities. So what it is really is that the industry had been in the recapitalization mode, all right, and then this came. What I said then, you know, was that let's just draw a line, close this thing in June, and let's know which companies are good and which companies need to make up. So by now, we probably would have been celebrating some companies and challenging them.
The June would have been mad by coronavirus pandemic.
That's what happened, which is why the regulator didn't do what I thought. The regulator extended it to December, and now we've got 2 dates, December and September. But I can tell you, the condition of some of these companies, even if you give them the next 3 years, one, no investor will give them money because they're in bad shape. And secondly, you know, even if they had money, the money will be used in paying outstanding obligations. So which investor will want to give money to you to pay outstanding and then start afresh? Which is why NICOM has done a wonderful thing of saying, let's give 4 new licenses. You know, and that's happening for the first time in 10 years.
4 new licenses for new
insurance companies.
I think there were also 2 companies that licensed as micro insurance there.
Oh yes, micro insurance companies have been licensed. You know, but so what you have is that you've got insurance companies have been weakened on account of COVID, you know, because it's not every insurance company that was even doing business online. Now, the few of them that were already online took advantage of it and continued doing what they knew how to do. And they got, you know, to customers, and I mean, customers did not believe they were open for business. They were still open for business. And so now people can decide that, oh, because that company was available at that time, then I would rather go with that company, you know. And it's also helped us to separate, you know, some things. And going forward, I think even before December, you know, if NICOM is doing a wonderful thing now of saying capital verification, which will start in September. And once they do that, whether they tell the public or not, people will get to know which companies, you know, are sitting well and which companies are not sitting well. Don't forget, I'm sorry, don't forget, insurance has got like its own annual period also, which is usually from January to December. So a lot of companies are going to look forward to the December. You know, they won't even wait for the December. That's what I'm trying to say, to decide who will do their business in January. You know, so a lot of things are going to happen in terms of determining who is in the market and who is not in the market. Will
you think that companies will be able to meet half of their capital requirement by December 2020, as put by NICOM, the regulator?
It's very challenging, because the basis on which NICOM has said we want to see your capital is not what it used to be in the past, where companies will put properties and all those. I mean, a lot of what NICOM has said they want to see is as close to money as possible. You know, putting in language that everyone will understand. And so when that is the expectation, a lot of companies are challenged. However, we will see some companies. We will see some companies. I don't know the numbers, but we'll see some companies. And my take is that if we see only 5 companies at that time, then let's go on from there. Don't forget, 4 new companies are coming in if they are approved, as we expect. And so the numbers will keep adding and subtracting. So if we end up with 15 companies to take off, that would be fantastic.
How many companies do we have now?
We've got 57 companies.
Insurance companies.
Yes.
You know, there was a recapitalization, I think, in 2003.
The last one was 2007.
Yes, 2007. This one now of September 2021, do you think is final? Because we've seen the regulator shifting the goalposts. I think we also discussed the last time you were here, we were discussing if this recap will be final or if it will happen. And the goalpost has been shifted now like 2 places, December and September 2021. So is this final?
Let me respond this way. I mean, recapitalization shouldn't be a final position for recapitalization. Because for insurance business, you always need to, as a company, ensure that you are well capitalized to do business. But yes, we understand that as a regulator, you've got to come and say there has to be a minimum position. So even if it's a final position for the regulator, it shouldn't be a final position for a lot of companies who are serious about taking on the opportunities that are in Nigeria. So whether it's a final for the regulator, it shouldn't be a final for a lot of companies going forward. Because when you look at the financials of a lot of companies before now, that line, capital base, had remained the same for years. And that's not how it should be for insurance business. Because if you recall, NICOM also tried to do something before where we are now, or the tier-based approach. And the intention was to really get different insurance companies to do what they've got the capacity to do in terms of capital. Because it's all about capital allocation to different lines of business. So when you are doing that, you require more money in certain areas. I mean, it's not all insurance companies that should be doing oil and gas business, for example. You know, we haven't been able to crack that area in spite of the local content law because we don't have the capacity. And so when you discuss capitalization now, there's a lot that is being said, and it seems like we are doing it for the purpose of such high-end businesses. But what happens to the population? And that's when the micro insurance you were talking about comes in. We are not there yet, and that for me is the game changer. Okay,
the question now, dovetailing from what you're saying, would be what will be the catalyst for the insurance industry's maturity to be very significant, to be a significant sector in the country?
So it's got to be a process.
Okay,
yes, catalyst fine, but it's got to be a process. And the process is this. I have said recently that, look, the challenge is awareness, all right? So insurance companies should do a lot more of informing and educating people in the first instance.
They will say they don't have money.
No. You see, why they will say they don't have money is that they are looking for what will bring premium. They forget that everything goes through a process. I mean, I'm a certified process professional, so I understand what process means. You can't get it, you can't just enter and take my money. You got to tell me, you got to answer some of my questions. And it is that point. And it's not when somebody has a claim that you want to educate the person. No, that's not when the person should be educated about insurance. You say, oh, this policy you took, you should have read it. No, that's not fair. It's when you are selling or when you intend to sell. So, I mean, the industry had a rebranding project, don't forget. And they contributed money and tried to do something.
Has it worked? It
hasn't worked because of this same thing I'm saying to you. Some companies that were meant to contribute did not see how money will come from, you know. So tell me, why would a bank go and paint a primary school? Is that where the money comes from? But when you pass from that when you pass there, you use that to describe, and once you are describing, you mention the bank. And so it goes on like that. How many primary schools or places do you see insurance, you know, decorating or painting and doing all that? Awareness is in different dimensions. So these are things that we can't avoid, and we've got to do. And you know, the focus on premium is too heavy, and that's why we lose a lot of things before we get to that point of taking the premium. And that is the same reason why the agents go out and come to you and don't even have much to say until you have paid. And when you pay, they are gone. When you have a claim, the same agents can't deal with you. You know, so those are issues that we've got to address. So if we are addressing the issue of information, education, I tell you, if someone has got a claim, and some people want to see testimonies, sometimes people don't even believe that insurance works. You know, some people want to see testimonies. They want to hear that someone somewhere had an issue and it was resolved. And by the way, insurance companies are resolving these issues, but they won't come to the public to say it. And the people that are resolving these issues won't also, you know, these issues are being resolved for, won't also come and say it. So what goes on? Communication is a big issue. So to answer your question, if communication is addressed, then we can begin to talk about, oh, what's the next thing? The next thing becomes that I can do insurance for the education of my child. Next thing becomes I can do insurance for my building. Do you know that people finish building their houses, nothing happens, and then a fire happens and somebody said, did you do insurance? He said, no. I mean, the building of 25 million, insurance for a building of 25 million can't be, I mean, it will probably be 100,000 naira for a residential building.
So how does it work? For someone listening to us now, you're saying that a building of 25 million naira, you do an insurance of 100,000 naira. So if that building is you know, caught up in fire, how does it now work for someone watching now? Say, is it that 100,000 that will build me a new house?
Look, you see, the fundamental, you know, thing about insurance is that you are subscribing to a pool. So there are several other people who have come into that pool, which is the same issue with people saying, I've done insurance for years and I haven't had a claim, I didn't get anything. No, you didn't get anything, but someone else got.
You didn't get anything, perhaps because you didn't suffer any loss.
Precisely, but someone else suffered a loss and got from that pool.
Okay, let's take a look at the recently released unemployment numbers, because when these numbers are released, I don't just take a look at it, you know, just top line, or just in an, you know, in just one kind of way. I look at it, I link it across board. So how do you link the unemployment numbers that came in at over 27%, poverty levels too, which is high, and our poverty level, that means we have lower disposable income for people who have. That means that not everyone will go for insurance, as we're saying. So it's a difficult one in terms of insurance adoption. So you have weak insurance adoption. So how do you do that? Or can also the poor population be harnessed in a way? Microinsurance, definitely.
Oh, sure.
That part. But
microinsurance, Takaful.
Takaful, yes. So how do you link all of this? Will it still be a not so good time for insurance sector moving forward because the economy isn't doing well?
Yeah. You know, there is an issue of positioning. How do we, both as government and at individual levels, position insurance? We see insurance because of the discussion around knowledge. You know, we see insurance as the last thing that should come to our minds. But I've had to say recently to Smedan that you should put on the list as number 2, number 3, insurance for small businesses. You know, it should be, because business is risk. Our lives, we live, every day we live with risk. So the moment you move out of your house, anything that happens affects you. So if you understood the place of
your
insurance,
house, you can suffer a risk
oh
too.
yeah, you know, helicopter made some people in their houses.
Yes.
You know, so you find out that if you are able to reconcile the fact that we face risk, then you begin to have a connection with insurance, knowing that in the event that something happens to me, you know, insurance will take care, which is why we are saying claims must be paid and promptly, so that people can understand that, as I'm saying, buy insurance to protect myself from risk, and then when something happens, I'll be paid. It follows, you know, it follows. So in terms of unemployment, you know, there is also a certain kind of insurance, which is protecting you when you lose your job. Now, it takes time for people to understand it and to subscribe to it. And when they do, you know, I mean, it comes back to, will the company be there to pay me? You know, but once the company is there to pay you for the time that you're out of job, you know, you can even start a new business in the course of being out of job. And insurance can follow you on that journey. But it all comes back to understanding it. The poverty issue for us, it's something that I also see as an opportunity, in the sense that by now, and I understand the regulator is working on that, we should be able to sell insurance in small bits. I was still having insurance 2 days ago with someone who lives in England. Now, insurance, if I want to buy insurance, and you say, for my building, insurance, I should come and pay 100,000 naira, like we just discussed. I may not have that 100,000 naira at the time. Why shouldn't I be able to buy insurance on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, even if I want to travel? I want to travel and I want to buy insurance. So I should pay annual. And sometimes I know that we are not as innovative, I mean, from the insurance company's point of view, as we ought to be, because this should come from the insurance companies. I mean, it shouldn't be, especially when we are talking digitalization now and all sorts of solutions that technology is providing, that you won't be able to price it, and then the credit environment is getting better. Banks can say, star, that hash, you get credit. So which means people are beginning to get some credit scores, and it's looking interesting for insurance. So I do believe that it will work. The poverty thing is just for us to do a whole program. When we talk about social investment program in Nigeria, for me it's insurance that we're talking about. You know, so why would I pay people money every month and they're not insured? Okay. What if something happens?
Okay, let's take a look at this, the job of the regulator.
Okay.
And its relationship with the stakeholders in the industry. There's a new boss, Sunday Thomas, I think that, you know, then I think there's a new chairman of NIA now.
Yep.
Ganiu Musa.
Yeah. Everything seems to be new anyway.
You know, so what is the job of the regulator in all of this? The job of also the NIA,
okay,
like in terms of even the stakeholders shaping what the industry should look like. You were talking about why not adopting digital tools, like what you have, fintech, you have insurtech, for example, and all of that. So,
okay, you know, the thing with insurance, as different from a number of other financial services, is that I'm selling you a promise that if something happens, I will be there. Now, that's what you also buy. Now, so the regulator's role is to ensure that the insurance companies are sound and are in a position when that time comes to honor that obligation. And also, importantly, to ensure that the policyholder is protected. That's in the law, you know. And that's why the issues of claims, you know, come up all the time. And there is the bureau, the complaints bureau, that needs to address those issues. And recently I've had to say that, look, insurance companies need to see complaints as food. When it comes, eat it, consume it, and from there it will help you to improve your processes. So it's the same thing for the regulator. Now, but for me also, I've had to say that for the regulator, the important thing to do is to take insurance not from the level that we are all discussing and arguing. how does insurance connect with the national development plan of the country? You know, does the finance ministry, you know, where the National Insurance Commission is understand that insurance has that role to play at that level? You know, you don't do a sustainability plan in Nigeria and not involve insurance. So when you have done that, people will begin to understand in the room the role that insurance is playing. Are you aware that there are some foreign companies that want to come to Nigeria and they ask the question of your insurance condition? So that's for the regulator. But for the operator, you've got to constantly look at what the customers say they want. It's not ideal for you to open a shop and I say I want a particular thing. And I come every day and you say you don't have. And you still don't have. You're not in business.
Okay, so that question now would now go to what should chief execs of insurance companies be doing right now? Perhaps in the area of risk management, in the area of perhaps operational efficiency, because we also see slower growth in premium. You've alluded to the fact earlier that perhaps we're also seeing an increase in claims, especially in life claims now because of the death toll concerning COVID-19 pandemic. So what should heads of insurance companies be doing? Are they savvy enough, really?
Come on.
Come on, because of what I'm seeing.
No,
you know, I'm not berating them, but, you know.
I just said come on because you're so right.
Okay.
You're so right. In terms of perception, you know, but when you sit down with any insurance CEO and he's discussing his business, you'll be amazed at how much he knows. The challenge becomes, why is he not doing it? Why is he not doing it? So it comes from, probably everybody says insurance is conservative, but I said, look, we live in a digital age. You can no longer...
Can it be more conservative than central banking?
No, because you know, insurance are holding people's
money.
Money, yes, it's money. Okay, but you are afraid that something might happen, and then you have to pay. So you don't want to go out, and then when that something happens, you can't come out. So sometimes I have also said that, in spite of that, we should engage. It's important to engage. Let people know that you are savvy. It's not that they will perceive you not to be savvy and they don't see you and that perception now becomes reality. It stays, you know. So what they should be doing now really borders on research and strategy. Because in the period that COVID has knocked us, we have all had to sit down and reflect. What did we want to do before COVID? What have we lost in view of COVID? What can we still hold on, you know, in spite of COVID?
And what new opportunities have COVID?
That's where the opportunities come in. And I'm telling you that I did see a move sometimes in April and May when the insurance industry was recognized by the president as contributing to COVID, and then the commissioner was given his position. I mean, the Insurance Commission is probably one of the few in terms of the regulatory body that have a full, you know, the full complements of executive management and the board on substantive basis. So it's a game that they must play. Okay,
we have just less than 2 minutes to end the show, and I need to put this in.
Thanks.
How will market rates such as like fixed income rates impact insurers' investments outcomes? You know, because we know that a lot of them invest in such things. And what kind of collaboration are you going to be seeing happening in the sector to enhance productivity? M&As, compulsory M&As, whether they like it or not.
Sure.
Less than 1 minute.
Sure. Okay, so the way it is with fixed income, you just find out that you've got a policy, for example, that is running, and some people cannot pay for that policy again, and so they've got to surrender, say, I want my policy back, and I want my money back, and things like that will happen. You know, there are a lot of changes. So insurance companies have got to now, you know, think and say, in view of inflation, in view of all of this thing that is going on, how do I respond and continue to keep this customer? Collaboration will happen, M&E will happen, but I am hoping that the National Insurance Commission will also withdraw 2 or 3 licenses and create an environment where people will begin to see that the regulator is not just overlooking certain things. There are some companies that are not doing well.
Do you think the regulator is overlooking them?
No, I think.
Or is not
he's
too strong on.
No. I think he wants recapitalization to take them off.
Okay.
Which for me is a different thing, you know. And by the way, there are lots of opportunities in the agri sector, in the real estate sector. So if we are not in good shape, we may not be able to connect with those sectors the way we should.
Okay. I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for your
Thanks so much,
perspectives.
Nancy. It's always a pleasure.
Likewise. All right, I've been speaking with Ekerete Ola Gam-Ikon. He's a consultant on insurance. We've been looking at the insurance sector amid COVID-19 pandemic. I think those companies in the insurance sector should fasten their seatbelts. And NICOM, which is the regulator, should also do better than it is doing now. And the government itself, because there should be a body language to support insurance. That's the much we can take. I am Nnaji. I'll see you all tomorrow. Don't forget, be the best version of yourself and keep safe. Bye. Thank you for watching our video. Please hit the subscribe button below, turn on post notification to follow all our updates.